So today we are going to be talking about long-distance caregiving, and I'm assuming that a lot of you, this topic relates to you as either you're going to be going home for the holidays or your loved one is going to be coming to visit you for the holidays, so I thought it'd be really appropriate to talk about this today. And just as a reminder, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box here on GoToMeetings, and I will get to them at the end. So just what we're going to talk about today, we're going to do an overview of elder help, talk about who is or what is a long-distance caregiver, tools to help manage care from a distance, long-distance caregiving around the holidays, and how to create an action plan, as well as I'll give you guys a few resources to hopefully help you out as well. So here at Elder Help, our mission is to provide personalized services and information to help seniors remain independent and live with dignity in their own homes. And we do that a lot of our services are intended to reduce social isolation and any resulting health and medical issues. So we do a lot of that through companionship, helping out with rides either to the grocery store or to a doctor's appointment, and friendly visitors that go into the senior's home as well. As always, if you have any questions about Elder Help or any of our services, please feel free to give me a call or send me an email, as well as visit our website. So long-distance caregiving. Who is a long-distance caregiver? There are over 7 million adults in the United States who are considered a long-distance caregiver, meaning they live an hour or more away from their loved one. About a fourth of these caregivers are the primary caregiver, meaning they are the main person providing care to their senior, their aging loved one, and about a third of these people are caring for someone with dementia, which obviously adds a little bit of an extra challenge when you are a long-distance caregiver. This number is increasing just as we become more of a mobile society, and not only are we moving for jobs or to go to school or just to live in a different place, but seniors are moving because they want to be either closer to family or retire maybe in a little bit warmer of a climate, or be closer to grandkids, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're moving closer to the person that is their primary caregiver. So obviously being a long-distance caregiver poses a lot more difficulties as someone who is very close to the person that they're caring for. And one of the biggest things that comes to mind right away is it's a huge financial strain. So long-distance caregivers on average spend more money than caregivers who are close in distance, and every month they spend about $200 on travel, and then on out-of-pocket expenses about $193 per month. Maybe someone's feeling a little bit guilty about being far away, so they're spending more money trying to contribute financially instead of being there physically with someone. But also there's just a lot of guilt with being far away, and assessing needs from a distance can be really hard because you're just maybe talking to someone on the phone. You can't physically see them. And just determining, are they really telling me the truth? Did they really take their medications today? And then, of course, when you live long distance from someone, you probably have a job wherever you live, and it can be really hard to juggle work and family and getting time off from your job. And most caregivers right now are part of the sandwich generation, so they're not only caring for their aging loved one, but young kids under 18 at home. So, you're trying to be there for your kids and your loved ones who are far away. Sometimes that can really play a toll on people. So how can you help as a long-distance caregiver? A great place to start is just making sure that you have phone numbers of important people in your loved one's life. So you have just the number of their doctor, or some of their neighbors or their close friends, and then you just know what their preferred hospital is. So if there is an emergency, you know exactly which hospital to call and get information on them. There's this document that I have up on the screen here right now, just a screen grab of it. And it's from Family Caregiver Alliance. You can find it on caregiver.org. And it's called Where to Find My Important Papers. This sheet, I think, is such an all-inclusive place to start because not only does it say where your loved one's important papers are if you were to need to go into their house in a medical emergency, but it can easily bring up that conversation of, do you have these papers? Do you have these documents filled out? So it goes through everything from like a will or a power of attorney all the way to just like their birth certificate or identification and just where things are located, internet passwords, and then they can also put like a code to a safe or where the key is. So it's really important not only for you to have this, but for anyone else who is caring for your aging loved one, be it your siblings or a spouse, or just having this in a place where also emergency services could know where some of these papers are. Of course, an advance directive, which is a document that says what your loved one wants for their end of life or afterlife if they are unable to make their own decisions anymore. And a HIPAA release, which gives you permission to talk to your loved one's care team, like professionals, doctors, and maybe a living facility. And someone asked, is there a URL for that document? I don't have the exact URL with me, but like I said, if you go to caregiver.org, I'll put that in the chat box. You can find it on there, or if you just Google search Family Caregiver Alliance, where to find my important papers, it will pop right up. So good question. So how to help from a distance. Obviously right now we're so lucky with technology that it makes it a lot easier to help from a distance, live far away from your loved ones. And, I'm sure we feel this on a day-to-day basis that technology has helped us a lot. But, oh, thank you for finding that link, Brian. But it can really help us to stay in touch even if our aging loved ones aren't as tech savvy as we are. So even if you're just regularly communicating via phone calls and asking, questions about their life, maybe you know that every week they go to brunch with their friends. So make sure that every week you are asking, did you go to brunch with your friends today? And, try to gauge whether if they said no, why did they say no? Was it that they're just not feeling well that day, or are they maybe losing their hearing and it's a little bit more embarrassing for them to go and they can't hear what their friends are talking about anymore, or maybe there's steps into the home or into the restaurant that they can't navigate anymore. Communicate via email, and when you're communicating via phone call and email regularly with people, make sure it's not just your aging loved one, but anyone else who could be on the care team, your siblings, any neighbors, any doctors who are involved in care. Maybe it's just easiest for you to, have an email chain so it's not really distracting you from work. Again, make sure you have that HIPAA release sign, that your loved one has that HIPAA release sign so that you can talk to any doctors, staff where they live, therapists, and then identify your team. So whoever else may be on your team, we'll talk about that a little bit in the next slide, but this doesn't have to just be professionals, but it could be your siblings or neighbors, anyone else who can help you in navigating your aging loved one's life. If your loved one isn't as tech savvy, you can help them with online searches. Something that we do 1,000 times a day is Google something, but for them that can be really complicated. So just searching a diagnosis or what a prescription may be or a new doctor, or just any questions that they may have is such an easy thing for you to do to help them. Of course, if your loved one can, FaceTime is a great way to not only see their facial expressions and, feel like you're a lot closer to someone, but also to just assess their home. If you can see, are things really looking a little dirty, or are they not looking well themselves? Maybe they look a little bit ill. And of course, staying positive is not only important for your own mental health, but for your loved ones as well. So your care team, of course, when you're creating a care team, if you are able to, assess everyone's strengths and limits. So are you really good at keeping up the communication? Maybe you should be the one who's in charge of creating calendars and the email chains. Or maybe you're a little bit better with like paying bills, balancing a checkbook, paying taxes online. But know what your limits are too. So if you are a long distance caregiver, is traveling either mentally or financially a huge limit for you, and you have to know when to say no, that you can only go maybe a couple times a year, but someone else on the care team may be closer and they may be able to go more times a year and check on someone. Or maybe your work doesn't allow as much time off or for you to work remotely. So just, assessing your strengths and limits. Shared calendars and email chains are obviously a huge way to help everyone on your team stay in touch with each other. So whether you're sharing your Outlook calendar with your siblings or even your aging parent, it could be super helpful and to put appointments on there, or you could see if someone else on your care team is maybe having an extra busy week, so you can step up a little bit that week. And then be sure that you're always planning your visits in advance. So when you are going to visit, be sure to have an agenda and make any appointments ahead of time so it's not super last minute and you're trying to cram a bunch of things into one week. Allow time to, go through the home, make any modifications if you need to, go through the mail and the bills. But also be sure to plan some time for fun and, keep it in mind that every time you go home, it will be a little bit different and things can change even in a short amount of time. So a couple tools for managing care from a distance. There are a ton of apps that are out there. And then a geriatric case manager if you are financially available to hire one. That is a professional, usually a gerontologist, social worker, or nurse who can manage care and help with either finding services or just, keeping an eye on that person, running a couple errands for them. And this is what they're specifically trained in, helping to manage a senior's care. They can also just help you arrange needs from a distance, keep in touch with you as well. And they are usually private pay, but if you do contact your local area agency on aging, they may be able to refer you to one that isn't as expensive or is covered either through like insurance or a grant. And then there are a bunch of apps, like I said. So these are just a couple of the ones that I have found that are very popular and recommended by caregivers. So CareZone, you can create a medicine list, do a shared calendar on there. Also have a shared journal, so multiple people can write notes in there about what they talked about that day or stories that mom or dad maybe told you. And then you can also put contacts in there, so the doctor, the pharmacy, a therapist, anything like that. AARP has an app and they can help to monitor symptoms, coordinate care and appointments, the shared calendar, medications you can put in there, and then they also have a FAQ section on there for caregivers. Caring Bridge, again, allows people to keep track of medical appointments, a shared calendar, and then you can also put any changes in health or mood or anything like that. And then Pacifica is a mindful app for caregivers. So this is helping you to take time out of your day to maybe meditate or 5 minutes to relax for yourself. It's created for caregivers. Of course, try these apps out if you're an app person. Make sure you find the right one for you and your care team. And, if not, iCalendar or Outlook may be the best for you and your care team. And then, of course, from a distance, adult day centers or home care are a great way to keep someone in their own home and get some extra hands and help if you are able to afford that. So coming home for the holidays, what should you expect? What should you be looking for? Like I said, things can change a lot between if you were just home for Thanksgiving and now you're going home for Christmas. So be sure that you're reassessing every single time. And some of those changes that you should be looking for is someone just struggling to get out of their chair or walk around their home. Maybe they're wearing dirty clothes or they don't have winter appropriate clothes. Are they not bathing because they're scared that they're going to fall in the bathroom? Did they lose a lot of weight or gain a lot of weight in just since the last time you saw them? Another thing is their car. Is their car super dirty or does it have more dents in it? Have some paint scratches on there? And then just some unusual things. Are they overspending or not paying their bills? Are they misplacing things and you're finding their glasses or the remote control in the refrigerator? And then just checking to make sure their hearing aids and glasses are still working correctly for them. Again, plan your visit ahead of time. Hopefully you're going home for the holidays and it's a happy time, it's a relaxing time, but Make sure that you plan ahead for anything that needs to be done, any appointments that need to be made, if you need to go along to any doctor's appointments. Do you need to make any changes into the home or hire someone to make the changes? Or maybe, like I said, it could be as simple as just going out and buying some new winter clothes and making sure that they're equipped and ready for the winter coming. Do a home safety evaluation, just make sure their smoke detector, their CO2 alarms are working. Do they have a ton of throw rugs out, and securing those down or trying to take some of those away. And then check out their bathroom. Are they using the towel bar as a grab bar? If they are, then make sure you're getting proper grab bars installed. And then just notice what they're talking about. Are they complaining or overcompensating for something? Are they saying things like, oh, could you reach that glass of water for me? Or this doorway is just so narrow. Or are they saying, oh, these stairs are so steep, or they're always so slippery, or I can't see anything. Just notice little things that they're complaining about, and maybe that could be a clue to something bigger that's going on. So when you're assessing their home, are they using furniture to get around their home? What does their bathroom look like? Is there a ton of clutter on the stairs? Make sure it's safe for them. And, a lot of these things are super easy changes that you can make. A good rule is below the hips and above the shoulders. If it's below the hips, they're going to be bending down to reach for something. And if it's above the shoulders, they're going to be reaching, high up for something. They're going to be grabbing chairs and stools to step on. And, that's just a huge fall risk right there. So make things in between the hips and the shoulders easy to reach, especially very commonly reach for items like plates and glasses, anything in the cupboards. And then some simple changes that you can make while you're home for the holidays, even if it's just for a few days. You can install some night lights on the stairs or in the path from the bedroom to the bathroom or in the bathroom. Make sure that they have maybe a nightlight or a flashlight right next to their bed. Put a chair in the shower. Install the proper grab bars in the bathroom. 70% of household falls occur in the bathroom. And installing a grab bar isn't a hard thing to do yourself. Just make sure you're putting it in the stud in the wall. They're not using towel racks. You can buy grab bars that look like towel racks if someone's a little bit embarrassed about having them put in their bathroom. And then make sure the stairs are well lit and clutter-free. And if you're going home and you're planning on making a lot of changes to your parents' home, try to only make a couple changes at a time, maybe 2 or 3 changes at a time, because it can be very overwhelming for someone to go into your home, make a bunch of changes all at once, and you may feel like you're losing independence, and that's a huge fear of older people. Why they want to stay in their home is they want their independence to still be there. So another thing to look out for when you're going home for the holidays is just realize that many people are trying to put their best foot forward, and this isn't just older people for the holidays, your old aging loved ones. They could be feeling embarrassed if they typically always have the holidays at their house and they're really struggling to cook and clean their home. So they might be really overexhausting themselves by still doing that, but they don't want to lead on to that they're struggling with doing that. So just notice if once everyone leaves, if they're really just like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted, or I just can't do this anymore. Take a walk around the neighborhood and just introduce yourself to any neighbors, or go to a social gathering with them, introduce yourself to their friends, and just let them know that you're there for your aging loved one, for your mom, and give them your phone number and in case of an emergency, and maybe you go to church with them. Anything that's in your parents' normal routine. And then, of course, the easy changes that I just went over to make, installing like night lights and grab bars, or maybe just Googling some local resources and leaving those phone numbers with your parents, even if it's just like a cleaning lady or some Meals on Wheels, friendly visitors, things like that. So maybe you are the one who's local for the holidays and you have siblings or other family members coming into town for the holidays, and you're kind of nervous about, what do I tell them? What can they expect? Maybe just send them an email, or in your Christmas cards, write just what changes have gone on in the last year or what to expect when they are coming in for the holidays. Send them a quick text message to say, hey, mom's not going to, be walking around as much this Christmas, and just let them know ahead of time so that they're not coming in and asking a ton of questions. Ask for their help. Use this as a good excuse to say, look, you can see that mom's not doing as well. I need extra help now. They may, when they're coming from afar, they may not see these changes that are going on. But also ask if they've noticed any changes since the last time that they were home. You being in caring every single day may not notice subtle changes that are happening on a day-to-day basis, but someone who hasn't seen mom or dad in a couple months may be noticing those changes, and ask them to share them with you so you can start getting that help. And then, of course, if you do have concerns, share them with your family who's coming into town, so maybe they can help you out as well. So creating an action plan, this is super important for outlining goals in getting care for someone. If anyone wants me to send this specific document to them, just send me an email and I can definitely do that. But this just outlines goals for both you and your loved one, makes them achievable and attainable. And it just goes through the key players who are involved in care, the action steps required, the required resources, so maybe that's time, money, educating yourself or someone else, and then the potential barriers that may happen. So maybe it is time or maybe it is money, and then the goal completion date. So for example, maybe you want to get a wheelchair for your mom. So first action step would be getting either a doctor or a physical therapist involved. You'll need the money to pay for it. And potential barriers might just be getting mom to that initial appointment and taking her back to the therapist to get it fitted. An end goal date might be before your family goes on a vacation for spring break. So just make it achievable, have that timeline, and it's a great way to write things out and maybe share with other people on your care team. And then finally, some resources for everyone if you are looking for other places to go to share with other people on your care team. The Elder Care Locator that connects caregivers to local services and resources. So if your aging loved one does live outside of San Diego, your local area agency on aging is always the first place I would recommend to start. They're equipped for giving you local resources, and they are dedicated to helping seniors live in their own homes. Family Caregiver Alliance, they give information and education for family caregivers. Of course, if your loved one has dementia, the Alzheimer's Association, they are not just for Alzheimer's, they are for every type of dementia, national organization. And then AARP has a page specifically for caregivers called React, and that's just aarp.org/react. And that has an online community, discussion groups, things like that. So of course, join us next January for our next webinar in our Family Caregiver webinar series. And does anyone have any questions? And here's my contact information if you have any questions you don't want to ask right now, or if you want me to send you any of the things that we talked about today. So someone said, if your loved one has a removable shower head, the bar is attached, so it's typically not anchored into the wall. So remind your loved one to never use that as a grab bar. That's a really great tip. And if they are using that as a grab bar or to stay steady in the shower, that could be a great sign to just simply install a grab bar into their shower. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I will stay on here for a few more minutes if anyone does want to ask any questions, but we will go ahead and sign off here. But thank you so much, everyone, for attending, and I hope you guys have a very happy holiday.